This is True Crime Stories. No dramatics, just the documented trail.
It is late afternoon in Walker, Louisiana, in early August 2014. The air is heavy with humidity. Subdivisions stretch along quiet roads lined with mailboxes and shallow ditches. In this part of Livingston Parish, neighbors recognize each other's vehicles and know which houses keep porch lights on past dark. Inside one of those homes lives Deborah Helmick. She is 64 years old, recently divorced, a mother and grandmother. Her routines are steady: phone calls, errands, time spent with family. On August 5th, 2014, family members grow concerned when they cannot reach her. The house feels unusually quiet. When authorities enter, they find Deborah Helmick unalive inside her home. There are signs of violence. A residential address becomes an active crime scene. Livingston Parish Sheriff's deputies secure the property. Crime scene technicians photograph each room. Evidence markers appear on floors and countertops. Investigators begin reconstructing her last known movements. They interview relatives and neighbors. They review phone records. They examine whether forced entry occurred. In small communities, information moves quickly. So does suspicion. Deborah Helmick had finalized a divorce earlier that year from her husband, Jack Helmick. Court records show that the separation included financial disputes and division of assets. Investigators note the recent history. The case does not appear random. It appears personal. Detectives begin reviewing communications between Deborah and her former husband. They look at phone calls made in the days leading up to her death. They assess whether anyone had recently visited the home. A homicide investigation expands beyond the house. Within days, attention centers on Jack Helmick. He is questioned by law enforcement. His statements are examined alongside cell phone data and other evidence gathered from the scene. As the file grows, investigators consider whether the motive may be tied to the divorce and financial strain. A former marriage becomes part of the timeline. In the weeks that follow, the Livingston Parish Sheriff's Office works with prosecutors to assemble a case. Forensic evidence is processed. Interviews are conducted with individuals connected to both Deborah and Jack Helmick. Detectives examine digital communications and financial records. The evidence suggests that the crime was planned. Authorities allege that Jack Helmick arranged for Deborah's unaliving in exchange for payment. The theory presented by investigators is that he enlisted another individual to carry out the act. The case shifts from domestic dispute to murder for hire. In 2015, Jack Helmick is arrested and charged with first-degree unaliving. Prosecutors announce that they believe he orchestrated the killing as part of an effort to resolve financial and personal conflicts following the divorce. Court documents outline communications between Helmick and others in the months leading up to August 2014. Investigators trace phone calls and text messages. They analyze the timing of movements on the day of the crime. An address in Walker becomes part of a broader conspiracy file. The prosecution alleges that a co-conspirator physically entered the home and carried out the killing. That individual is also charged. Details presented in court indicate coordination and prior agreement. The courtroom in Livingston Parish fills with family members, reporters, and residents who followed the case from the beginning. Prosecutors describe motive, financial strain, and deliberate planning. The defense challenges aspects of the investigation and the credibility of cooperating witnesses. A marriage ends. a criminal prosecution begins. In 2018, Jack Helmick pleads guilty to second-degree unaliving as part of an agreement with prosecutors. He is sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The plea removes the need for a full trial. It does not remove the record of what occurred. Deborah Helmick's death remains documented in police reports, charging affidavits, and sentencing orders. The house in Walker returns to private ownership. Neighbors continue mowing lawns and checking mailboxes. Traffic moves along familiar parish roads. The legal file reflects a sequence of events: a divorce finalized, financial disputes recorded in court, communications examined by detectives, and a coordinated plan alleged and later admitted through plea. The name Deborah Helmick appears in memorial posts and local news archives. Her family speaks publicly about loss and accountability. The sentence imposed on her former husband is entered into state correctional records. The system processes the case through arrest, charge, plea, and sentencing. The neighborhood absorbs the absence. Livingston Parish continues to grow as part of the Baton Rouge metropolitan area. New homes are built. Families move in. Schools open each fall. Most residents do not know the details of the address where deputies once stood behind yellow tape in August 2014. Court documents preserve the motive presented by prosecutors. They preserve the admission entered during the guilty plea. They preserve the life sentence imposed by the judge. They do not preserve the ordinary moments that preceded the crime. What remains is a documented homicide tied to personal conflict and financial dispute, resolved in court through a plea and life sentence, a quiet Louisiana subdivision where routine resumed, and a case that moved from domestic separation to criminal conspiracy, leaving a permanent entry in parish records under one summer date in 2014.